Hi people. Today we are going to be talking about decoys. I'm sure you know what deflection is. Forcing pieces away from a certain square. Decoys are the opposite. A decoy is when you lure an enemy piece onto a specific square by sacrificing one of your pieces. A decoy is most often used to give checkmate or to gain a material advantage with forks or pins. Let's look at a couple of examples. In this position, white sacrifices their queen, forcing the king to take and be lined up with the rook. Once black captures the queen, white gives a double check with the bishop and rook. The king can only get out of a double check by moving. The king only has two squares to move to. If the king moves to c7, then bishop to d8 is checkmate. If the king moves to e8, then rook to d8 is checkmate. Heavy decoys and double checks are very good for giving checkmates. In this position, white sacrifices the rook. The black king can only take the rook. White plays queen to h7, which is checkmate. If white didn't force the king onto the h8 square with the rook and instead played queen to h7 early, then the king could just go to f7. This is why the decoy was needed. In this position, white gives a double check. The king has to move to g8. If they move to e8 instead, then queen to e7 would have been mate. Now white's best move is to sacrifice the queen. The rook is the only piece that can capture the queen, and knight to e8 is checkmate. Now deflections and decoys can be used together. In this position, white sacrifices their queen again. This move pulls away the king from defending the rook and it forces it into a corner still lined up with the rook. Rook takes rook, knight to g8, bishop to b5 check, queen blocks, and bishop taking the queen is checkmate. The pawn taking would have also been checkmate. Now let's look at how to win material with decoys. In this position, white pushes up their pawn, giving a double attack. Black captures the pawn. The queen is lined up with the rook. So white plays bishop to h7 check, making the queen and rook stare at each other. Once black takes care of the check, white can simply take the queen. In this position, white sacrifices their knight. If black takes, then white is able to play rook to a8, forcing the king to move down and reveal the other rook. Now black doesn't have to take the knight here, but they would just be down a pawn and every piece matters. One more example. Here white picks up a free pawn. The black queen attacks the knight. White then sacrifices their queen, again. Black picks up the queen, but white is able to fork the king and the queen. Once the king moves, the queen is captured. Decoys. It's a good tactic to know. Like all other tactics, it helps you give checkmate or gain a material advantage. So that's nice. Yeah. Look around in your games if you can use a decoy. You should be able to in some. Like getting a fork or a pin. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful in any way, please subscribe. Bye people.